Southern community.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
It's now morning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
All set? Let's go.
The Zone.
And good morning. Welcome in on a Monday to the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. We did. We're going to do a little live broadcast. Tried to do a live broadcast from down at a little bit off 30A. I'm just driving around, hanging out, saying hey to everybody. I may be the mayor of 30A by the time I leave. But the show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Visit dancingrabbitgolf.com and book a tee time right now, unless you're in the car. Wait till you get to the office. And play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and go ahead and hit the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and bet on a little college football futures or NFL futures. We are streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app, A couple of different ways you can hit us up. The Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-995-1059. Twitter handle at BoBounds, brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw. Their new location, Gluckstadt, Madison County, powered by DeWalt Tools. And then your Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-3776. I've got Blake Mania with me, and I am your host, Bo Bounds. And again, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. Great weather, both in the Jackson Metro and down here on 30A. Got to let you know before I get into Hell State and Ole Miss baseball and Phil Mickelson. Oh, my goodness. Knocking on the door of 51 years old and wins a major in Charleston, South Carolina and Kiowa Island. What a course. What a day to watch Phil win a major at almost 51 years old. But it was a good weekend, excuse me. We got to hit one of my favorite restaurants, Barago, and Wendy and I've been several times, but we had an opportunity to take my daughter with us, and just wow, what a meal, what a dinner, and so that was a lot of fun on what day was that? Saturday night. We went to Barago, one of my favorite places. Most of you know about it. It's in Grayton Beach. Well, if there's a female listening, you know about it, about what I'm about to say. It's right by Lululemon. So, bam. Why didn't I buy Lululemon stock 8 years ago? And I continued to monitor it. And anyway, that's another discussion. We'll do a whole segment on that this summer when we all want to talk about whatever in the heck's going on to get to football. Well, all right, so it was a good weekend for the Bulldogs and a good weekend for the Rebels. Whenever you can go in the closet and take out the broom for a sweep, that's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. And it is hard. It's hard to win in this league, in any sport, because they're all loaded. But baseball is super loaded, and Mississippi State did the work after I called them out last Sunday/Monday, questioned a lot of things. Still have a lot of questions, part of it. But they stepped up. They got better starting pitching Thursday and Friday, and then they did what they needed to do on their Saturday game, as some of you watched it. And they were behind. And then things got weird that inning. Thought it was a terrible call by the umpire. But, what are we doing? I just anyway. But they took care of business, and Bednar was super on Friday, which you wanted to see that. They're still looking for a third starter. Tanner Allen is still filthy, and all sorts of things. So Hail State with 3 dubs over the weekend. They're a national seed. They will be one of the top 8 national seeds. So they'll host next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend in Stark Vegas at the Dude. And it'll be nuts. Absolutely rocking. And then if they win, they'll host the next weekend for the Super Regional. Nothing's guaranteed with either team. But I like them, but I have question marks. I have questions around both, which is fine. I mean, it's part of it. Really nobody checks all the boxes. Again, we thought Vanderbilt and Florida would dominate everybody. It's not the case. Our teams are right there with them, and so that's cool. But tip of the cap, Lemonis got his team right, and they did what they needed to do. Ole Miss goes to Athens and has a really good weekend. Doug Nikhazy is filthy. He's filthy. He's one of the best or the best. If you want him for 7, 8 innings, 6, 7, 8 innings, he is phenomenal. Just a freak of a talent. As good as Tanner Allen is at the plate, Doug Nikhazy is on the mound. And it's fun to watch guys dominate. I mean, dominating a sport that is that brutal and ruthless and hard. It's hard to hit a baseball in the SEC at the plate. And it is hard to pick and pop on the zone and do that consistently every week. So Ole Miss did what they needed to do. They took 2 of 3. They're in. Oxford, Mississippi, and Swayze will host a regional. They're hovering around a national seed. I don't think they're there yet, but we'll see. We'll see how that looks. They play tomorrow night. Probably first pitch will be about 1 a.m. in the morning. But it's supposed to be, I think, around 9 o'clock. I'd say 10:30, maybe at best case scenario. But and then Mississippi State will be the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game on Wednesday morning. So they played their way out of playing on Tuesday, if you see where I'm going there. Ole Miss plays Tuesday night. And basically, Ole Miss may walk off the field. Mississippi State may start, just the way that tournament goes on Tuesday. But Mississippi State will start it off on Wednesday in Hoover. And you know what? The 2 teams are looking for some more starting pitching. They are. You're. I don't know if anything's set in stone on that third starter for the regional weekend. So I would have to believe that Bianco and Lemonis are really wanting a couple of guys. They would really like to see a couple of guys grab the baseball and go 4+, maybe even 5+ in Hoover. So you're still trying to develop your roster. I know it sounds crazy, 56 games in, but you are trying to find a little bit more mojo on the mound and a little bit more at the plate, trying to get some guys hot. Even warm. I mean, if you get 2 or 3, you can take 2 or 3 warm over 1 sizzling hot. And that's where we are. It's been exciting. 30 SEC games in the books. It has been absolutely wild and madness and fun. And so it was a good weekend. And then Phil Mickelson. I mean, really? Golly, I love Phil. I mean, as much as I love Tiger, I love Phil. And so cool to see him win. I hope you got a chance to watch it. I watched the last couple hours plus. And I was texting back and forth with Matt Janella, who used to be with the Golf Channel. That was a blast. We'll talk a little bit more about that on the big board coming up next. So, show is brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Also presented by Rick's Pro Truck. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone, WRKS. We are streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app, and the big board is coming up next.
What's on the big board? What's on the big board?
Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. The big board this morning is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local. Go with the home team. Also presented by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Man, how cool was it for those of you who watched Phil Mickelson yesterday? I mean, I got goosebumps. Really? Almost 51 years old. He's got all these young bucks chasing him. I mean, just great players. Great players up and down the leaderboard. Koepka, but many, many more. And, Koepka looks like this strong safety, right, that would play at Georgia or something. And Phil Mickelson stays the course and makes it happen at 50 years old, but almost 51 years old. And that shot into the green on 18, and thank goodness his ball stayed in play, the drive. But, man, that iron shot into the green on 18, I mean, I was yelling in my condo. Wendy and Ella Hall were like, what in the world are you doing? And I was like, this is history. You know, I love it. You look, man, when you play at that level and you don't ever know if you're going to win again, and you continue to compete and do things, and I understand he's made a fortune and he's already got a, massive trophy case. But so does Nick Saban in Alabama, and it doesn't mean that they don't want to win another one. Bill Belichick and LeBron James and so many others. But it's hard to win. I know it is hard to win. And to stay locked in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, pretty awesome. So Phil Mickelson with the PGA Championship at 50 years old. Jack won it at 47 and 86. And look, I don't want to take anything away from Jack Nicklaus. I mean, some people think he's the best of all time. Some 1A. I've got Tiger, but whatever. And look, there were some good players on the tour, but nothing like it is today as far as talent and depth. And look, Jack was built like a fullback linebacker. I mean, great build to withstand some age. But he I mean, you were watching Mickelson throughout the day, and I'm sitting there going, he's not going to be able to hold up, and yet he did, and it was so much fun to watch.
The chip in on the front nine out of that bunker. What was that, like 6 or 7 he hit that on? Oh, man, that was when I said, okay, he's got it. He's locked in today. Because he was ugly off the first couple tees. He and Koepka were both awful off the first couple tees. But then he hit that bunker shot, and I was like, uh-oh, come on, Phil, here we go.
And some of you listening have played that course. It looked phenomenal. I mean, I've been over to that area several times, and Charleston, South Carolina is nothing short of amazing and beautiful, and it's just killer. It's got the 4 islands and all that, and they're all so neat and cool. But that course was funky and freaky and brutal, and that was cool. And I love it when the Sun Belt / the Southeast, we host another world-class sporting event, and we do it right. It's just, New Orleans has had many Super Bowls and many Final Fours, and national champion. And I've been to I've been to the national championship game in NOLA, and it's cool. And I've been to the Final Four in NOLA, and it's awesome. And I've had an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans and Augusta National for the Masters. But, man, Kiowa and Charleston, South Carolina, 1 to 10, a 10. Is TJ just text in? That was one time for the old guys. I'm 4 months older than Phil. And, he makes a great point. On a year where Brady won it, an old guy, 43 or something. Brady wins the Super Bowl, and Phil Mickelson wins the PGA Championship. And TJ makes a great point. Phil got in shape, and it's showing. He did. And it just goes to show you, man, this day and age, you take care of yourself. In business, 55, 60, 65, 70. I mean, you see it every day. People doing, not even checking up. Not even checking up. Sounds corny. You work out, you drink a bunch of water, and hit a bunch of protein, and it's just it's exciting. I mean, Tom Brady, that's a great point. Tom Brady just won this thing at 43 and looked great doing it with a messed up knee that he just had surgery on that he talked about recently. And then Phil Mickelson wins it. And 2 years ago when Tiger won it, that may be the coolest sporting event I've ever watched. And, I mean, we've had some great Super Bowls and Final Fours and national championship games and all that. But 2019 Tiger was, that had me all messed up in a good way. But that was fun. That was fun.
What about Nick's point on the Mississippi Ag text line? And I've had this discussion many times because it's just like Brady and Manning. For the most part, you always had to talk about one. You had to talk about both when you talked about one. How about Phil and his career getting number 6 despite playing in his entire tenure of his career during the greatest era of golf against the greatest golfer in the history of golf, Tiger Woods?
Great point.
I mean, easily could have won 4, 5 more probably majors.
Right. Well, but no, that's a good point. I mean, I know there were some that he gave up on Sunday, but like to come back yesterday, Blake, erases a little bit, right? Because nobody expects you to be almost 51 and win. But I think what we're seeing is the athlete today, the training, the nutrition, the physical therapy, the rehab, the recovery is so off the charts good and will only get better. I said this on the air about 8 or 9 years ago. I asked an orthopedic surgeon. I said, well, do you think the athlete is are we in the process of seeing the athlete plateau? But no. So think about everything that we see on TV right now and the phenomenal athletes, men and women. And yet I don't know where it's going as far as training and bigger, faster, stronger. But I'm not going to be surprised if 10 years from now, Blake, Dustin Johnson wins a major. Because, Dustin's 37 or 38 or whatever he is, and he's in good shape. Now, I mean, he'll have to, stay the course and everything. But anyway, the point is, it's cool to watch Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson and Tiger do this in, this day and age. And also, all right, so that was fun. All right. Well, hey, we're going to have Steve Robertson on if this thing continues to jam. We're going to have Steve Robertson on, Hail State Insider, genespage.com, the Boneyard Podcast. He'll join us at 7:35 on the Modelo guest line. And Blake is live in the Bank Plus studio. Hey, I want to shout out the C Spire Outstanding Player Awards today at noon. MSFame.com. C Spire Outstanding Player Awards. MSFame.com at noon today. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, the Out of Bounds Show. Back in a minute with your SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. incredible weekend of sports. You know, Hail State, Ole Miss baseball did what they needed to do for the most part. And then Phil Mickelson wins the PGA Championship at 50 years old. Blake, June what, 16th?
Yeah, that's right. June 16th.
51?
Yeah, so he's like 22 days away.
Okay. Phil Mickelson with the dub yesterday. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, WRKS. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice. We'll have Steve Robertson coming up in 5 minutes. Hail State Insider. He'll talk a little SEC baseball. All right, let's recap. Ole Miss took 2 of 3 from Georgia. They punched their ticket as one of the 16 seeds. They're in the discussion maybe for a national seed. It'd be interesting to see who grabs that number 8 spot. So I guess most of you know we get 16 sites will host regionals, right? And 8 of those will be quote-unquote national seeds. And if they win, they host the next weekend in the Super Regional, which I think most of you know the format. And if they lose, then it just kind of depends on who they're matched up against and who won, the quote-unquote regional / super that they're paired with, which happens too just about every year, I guess. So Hail State will be a national seed. The 2 teams know that they will host in Oxford and Starkville next weekend. Tons of money pumped into the economy. Love that. And then if they win, Hail State will host a super regional. If Ole Miss wins and they're not a national seed, they will either travel to their national seed spot and or if who they're matched up against loses, they may host. So we'll just see. We'll see what shakes out. But it's exciting. We just got through 30 SEC games, and now we go to Hoover, and Ole Miss will play tomorrow night in the late game, and Mississippi State will play Wednesday morning in Hoover at like 9 a.m. or something, 9:30, something. 9:30,
yep.
Okay. So that's an early wake-up call. Ole Miss may just be leaving the field from playing the late game on Tuesday. And then it's funny, Ole Miss has the steak and bourbon game, and then Mississippi State has the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game on Wednesday. I think the 2 teams are still looking for, more of everything, but definitely maybe trying to find another starter, a third starter, so to speak. You could need another one after that, depending on how the regional goes. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be wild. And the march to the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska continues. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by our friends at Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Bundle your auto and home and save. Go local. Go with the home team. You can also hit favrates.com. That's favrates.com. F-A-V-E. Favrates.com. And get a quote in 4 minutes or less if you would like to save. All right, cool. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. I've got Blake Mania with me. I hope you're doing well. And this is exciting. We got the SEC tournament this week and then regionals, and we'll see what happens from there. Blake, what do you have?
How about the decision by Ross Bjork rather quickly to go ahead and pull the plug and fire Rob Childress after 16 seasons in College Station? They'll be looking for a new baseball coach.
Not surprised. Childress did a good job, but he's not Ross's guy, and he never did any. I'm sorry. He had a nice run, but you're gonna have to have more than that this day and age. And ADs want to put their mark on something if it's not, something either special or close to special. And so that doesn't surprise me, Blake. and this is going to be a race for the Tennessee coach. Is it Vitale or Vitello?
Vitello.
How do you say it? Vitello. This is a race for him. Maybe could be another name or two. Vitello with Tennessee, who's done a great job. Who will get him? A&M or LSU? And will A&M, because they made the move right now? Well, I don't know. Tennessee's still playing; they're going to be a national seed too, right? So
is the A&M job more attractive than the Tennessee job now that Vitello's built a monster in Tennessee?
That's a good question. You would think that A&M should be a better spot as far as resources and a little, more commitment and players. But Vitello's done a great job at Tennessee. I just want to see him and Van Horn get after it at some point again. But maybe he'll be, in the West at LSU or A&M. Can't wait to see what plays out there. Gotro could be on the move at some point in the next few weeks. We'll just see. If I had to bet $100, I'd say he will be. Who knows? If Vitello goes to A&M or LSU, maybe that puts Gotro at Tennessee or A&M. I don't think LSU. We're about to go to Steve Robertson. I don't think LSU will allow themselves to hire a number one assistant at Mississippi State. They'll just, even though he would do a good job there, Jake Gotro, the number one assistant at MSU, they look down at that. And so even though Jake went to Tulane and all that, I don't see it. They want to go poach a sitting coach, and so we'll see how that looks. Our guests join us on the Modelo guest line. Steve Robertson joins us, the Boneyard Podcast, genespage.com. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Real quick before we bring in Steve. Today at noon, C Spire Outstanding Player Awards. All right, the Connerly, Gillum, Howell, Ferris. Today at noon, you can watch it virtual, which everybody knows how to do now, msfame.com. msfame.com today at noon, C Spire Outstanding Player Awards. And we'll bring in Steve Robertson, who was in Tuscaloosa all weekend. Steve, good morning. How are you, bud?
Man, I'm doing great. I was enjoying your college baseball coaching carousel discussion there.
What do you think about A&M? I mean, Vitello is the hot name. There's some others, Godwin, Tadlock, maybe, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts? You keep your finger on the pulse of college baseball?
I do, and I find that the coaching season with baseball to be quite interesting because it's pretty rare that we see major jobs open up. But this year, if Maneri retires, like a lot of people expect him to, that could be a huge domino that I think could set a lot of different things in motion. There's a lot of discussion behind the scenes that Kevin O'Sullivan would like to make a move should that job open up at LSU because of how passionate the fan base is at LSU and how the recruiting base is so loyal to the program. Everybody in Louisiana grows up wanting to be an LSU Tiger and then maybe going to the pros. And there's a lot of those kids in Florida, they grow up with minor league baseball all around them. And so, it's a different vantage point. But, the fans just simply don't support Florida baseball. And then you've got Tony Vitello out there that is, the hottest name in there. And so, obviously, he's the top name on everybody's list. And so I think A&M is going to go out and hire a proven head coach. They've got to call Vitello. I've heard Tim Tadlock from Texas Tech as a possibility, and that may just be smoke, to try to get a better job from a better contract from Tech, and there's some facility upgrades they've already committed to. And then, Schlossnagel's a name that's been mentioned in connection with A&M for quite a while as well, because everybody knew this move was coming. But I think this A&M domino coming up is just really the first of a lot of kind of a glorified game of musical chairs for sure.
Good grief, Steve. Can you imagine if we've got A&M open, if Maneri retires, if they poach Power 5 coaches, which means those jobs are open, I mean, this could go on for a while, Steve.
It could, and you mentioned Jake Gautreaux. This is the kind of season that I suspect, because of how good State has been, as far as striking out goes this year. This is the kind of year that I think Gautreaux would get some serious opportunities. I don't think, as you mentioned, that LSU or Texas A&M would come after him, but I think because of the trickle-down effect, I think there are some jobs out there, number one, that Jake would take, and also, number two, that Jake would be very qualified for. So I think this year could be a very interesting year for Mississippi State on the assistant coach side of things once the season's said and done.
Yeah, and let's continue on with that with Jake Gautreaux. You've been around him a lot, and I've been around him, one-on-one and at lunch and stuff like that. Not only is he a talented coach and a really good recruiter and has a super resume, but, Steve, you know this. When he sits down in front of an athletic director, he's going to nail the interview because of his personality.
Yeah, he's very polished. And that's the thing people forget too. He was working in agency circles when he got the job at Mississippi State the first time. So this is the guy that's well acquainted with how the process works, how guys turn pro, the things that you've got to do to kind of protect your eligibility if you don't. And so he's worked both sides of this. But you're exactly right. Across the room, he's very, very impressive. And I think if he gets on an even playing field, he's the guy that's going to be able to sell himself. And so if there's a job that he really wants, he will make himself a very serious candidate for that job.
Steve Robertson on the Modelo guest line, the Boneyard Podcast. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. Steve, we bring you on every week, and it's almost like we haven't given this guy his due on the show, and that's Tanner Allen. And I think when you follow Jake Mangum, it's extremely difficult to carve out your own space, and yet this guy's done it because the Mangum shadow is huge. But yet Tanner Allen is one of the best players in college baseball. He is one of the best hitters. He made an unbelievable defensive play on Saturday as you were at the ballpark. His speed, everything that he has brought to the table. Kind of sum up his last year. I know there's a lot of ball left to be played, but he's made his name at Mississippi State, Steve.
Well, I think this is one of those interesting situations you look at and say, well, if you don't have the COVID quarantine of 2020, he's probably drafted. And you know what? He's probably drafted late. But because of the fact that there was the COVID quarantine and the cancellation of the season, he has reinvented himself, and he has shown a completely different level of play. I think also he's had this reckless abandon this year. There are plays he's making this year that he never made for in his career. And so I think he is definitely a beneficiary of having that extra season of eligibility, because there were a lot of people that wondered, where does he fit position-wise? Is he going to hit for enough power? I think he's erased a lot of those questions. And listen, he's never going to be a 20-home-run MLB guy. But this is a guy now that has shown that he can play the outfield. This is a guy that can hit for average. This is a guy that can go out there and drive in runs for you. He's having the best season of his career, and it's incredible to think that it might not have happened had things gone normally last year.
What an unbelievable year for Tanner Allen. The three guys that are in the running for the C. Spire Ferris, it's really just off the charts talent. Look at it. You got Tanner Allen, you got Landon Sims, and you got Doug Nikhazy, Steve. And you can drop those guys anywhere in college baseball, and they're going to dominate, and they're going to be big-time players. And that's an awful lot of talent right there. And there's many more on both rosters. But how about that coming down to the C. Spire Ferris Award, Steve?
Yeah, and how fortunate are we in Mississippi to have an opportunity routinely to see this quality of play, really from all three of the in-state schools. And then, of course, Jackson State's had such a good year. We're a baseball-crazy state, but the in-state schools are providing it. I mean, they're fueling it because of the quality of players and the quality of play they're putting together. But, yeah, that's a very deserving list of candidates, and you can make a case for any one of them. I mean, there's some years it comes along and you say, you know what, this guy's the obvious winner. You know, and the thing about the Ferris Trophy, too, that's it's a little bit screwy at times, you know, there's a lot of scouts that are involved in that process. And so the projectable guys sometimes get those votes. And so, you know, if I had to call it today, I'd say it probably comes between TA and Nikhazy, but I think Nikhazy probably projects better on the MLB level. And so I won't be the least bit surprised if either of those three win it. But I would probably say top two vote getters among the scouts would probably be Nikhazy and then maybe Tanner Allen.
Steve Robertson, the Boneyard Podcast, genespage.com, was in Tuscaloosa all weekend, and he joins us on the Modelo guest line. So Mississippi State punched their ticket for the national seed. Where do you think they'll fall, Steve? More in the 7-8 range, or can they get in the 5-6? How do you see that shaking out?
Well, I got them 6-7, and I don't know that you can do much to really help or hurt your cause at this point. I think the hay is really pretty much in the barn. But, yeah, you got to avoid going over to Hoover and just laying an egg, too. You know, I mean, you can't go over there and, you know, boots baseball around and not throw strikes and look like you don't know what you're doing. I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings to go over there and win a ball game. You know, and to be honest with you, it's like I look at State and Ole Miss in probably the same regard when it comes to Hoover. You know, I don't think Ole Miss can play their way into a top 8 national seed. I know some people are suggesting that. I don't think that the path is there for them because I don't know that they can beat Arkansas and Vanderbilt. Certainly there's some RPI opportunities. But Ole Miss is locked in as a host. There is no doubt about that. And I don't think they can play their way into a super. So I don't think you go over there and go all out and throw your arms out when you're going to be at home next weekend hosting a regional after all of this adversity. And you look at State kind of the same way. It's like you just got to go over there and win a game, maybe two, just to kind of, you know, can relax a little bit. But I agree with you. I think State's where they need to be, and I don't think they can really improve their standing or hurt their standing by going over there, which is really unusual for both State and Ole Miss to kind of go into Hoover with not a whole lot to gain.
Woo! All right, so here we go with the SEC baseball tournament getting underway tomorrow. Ole Miss will play tomorrow night late, and then Wednesday morning Mississippi State will play early. Is that a 9:30 first pitch, Steve, or do you know?
It is, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Matter of fact, I'll be making the drive over tomorrow because, you know, you can't drive over that early on game day, and it's not expected to be some kind of issue on the interstate right around Birmingham, you know. So,
sure.
Yeah, I'm eager to get over there. And this is one of the things, too. There's so many of us that are, you know, kind of college baseball nerds, and, you know, you live all year for this time of year. You know, the conference tournament is here, and it's so exciting, the brackets to kind of put together, and there's some cross-divisional opponents that hadn't played that will. And then we get the regionals and the supers, and it's a month of the best part of baseball that's about to take place, and we're just really getting started. As great as the regular season was and eventful as that was, the best part of college baseball is about to happen, and it all starts tomorrow. And I can't wait to be there. I mean, Mississippi State's played 30 SEC games this year. I've covered every one of them. But
That's
I look
cool.
forward to Hoover. I look forward to Hoover just because of the fact that, you know, there's a lot of teams, you know, that maybe we don't get to see. I haven't seen Tennessee in person this year. I haven't seen Georgia in person this year. I hadn't seen Florida in person this year. And so, yeah, if you're a fan of the game, I mean, you become a fan of the league. You know what I'm saying? It's a different deal. Where football is so tribalistic, I think baseball, there's this mutual respect about the game. And, yeah, you want your team to win, and you want your team to go to Omaha and maybe one day win a national championship. But the quality of play in this league is so good. If you love baseball, this week is one of the biggest weeks of the year.
No doubt. Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds show and the Modelo guest line. C-Spire Outstanding Player Awards will be announced at noon today. You can watch msfame.com. One of those awards will be the Ferris Award after the legendary Boo Ferris. Steve, I'd like for you to weigh in on Kellum Clark. What do you make of the way he has played the last couple of weeks and what he can mean to the Hail State squad the next couple of weeks?
Well, he's finally healthy, and He's a guy that's now had some ABs. He's seeing the baseball exceptionally well. And you see it even in the balls where he's getting out. I mean, he's hitting absolute rockets. And I go back to South Carolina weekend, and I've mentioned this to a couple people within the program, and they admit they haven't seen this very often. But you know, he comes up with a runner on and one out there in extra innings. He already hit one home run, and they throw him a fastball, and he hits it about 455 feet, foul down the right field line. And then all of a sudden, they walk out of the dugout and say, "Put him on. Just go ahead and put him on." I mean, there's a respect level there. People are like, we're not going to take chances with this kid, but it's almost like you've signed a free agent. We talk about that all the time. You can't go out and sign anybody. You kind of are what you are. But because he's finally healthy now and he's worked hard in the cage, now all of a sudden he's worked his way into a starting position in left field, and he's involved in everything. And I love the way this roster has kind of emerged and developed, and you've got Forsythe and some guys that are kind of maturing a little bit. But you want to add length to your lineup. And really, I think for much of the year, once you got through, Luke Hancock and Logan Tanner, you thought, well, we got to wait 2 innings to score again. Mm-hmm. Well, now all of a sudden you move Cameron James down. You got James sometimes leading off an inning. You've got DeBrule, a great contact guy behind him. And then you've got Kellum Clark. So you could have, James get on base from one way or another. And then you've got, DeBrule to bring him around and Clark to drive him in. All of a sudden, because of Clark's emergence as a left-handed power bat, State has added length to the lineup, right? It's the perfect time of the year. And so it'll be interesting to see the way that it plays out. But I like the way that Chris is kind of stacking this thing together. But Kellum Clark is going to be a star at Mississippi State. He is the next big bat at Mississippi State. He'll be the guy here the next couple of years that people are having to pitch around. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and suggest he'll be a first-round draft pick or win a Triple Crown, but I think he is the kind of violent swinger that's reminiscent of Brent Rooker. I think he can have that type of impact on the game where at any moment he can turn a game around for you. I think he has that type of potential, and it's good to see him starting to realize that this year.
Steve Robertson on the Modelo guest line. Steve, I've got a minute. What are you looking for? What are they looking for in Hoover? They may still be looking for a third starter. Fristow is young. He's looked good at times, but he's struggled at times. What is the goal and objective on the mound this week as they go into the regional?
I think you just got to get guys on schedule. I don't think you'll see any weekend guys throw on Wednesday for Mississippi State. And I think just keep everybody else on schedule. I don't know if you don't throw Sarantola out there, to be honest with you. I mean, you're guaranteed 2 games. And maybe Sarantola's a guy that'll rise to the occasion. But I just don't see a situation where, State goes over there and, maybe elongates any guys. I think you just got to let guys get some work in and get out of there. And they're competitors. I mean, you're talking to the players. None of them are saying, hey, we're just going to go over there and go through the motions. Luke Hancock and, Landon Sims and Houston Harding, they're going over there wanting to win the tournament, and so you want to see that happen. But as you're managing all this, you got to understand there's a bigger picture and a bigger goal out there, and that really begins next weekend. So I think State will throw their guys, but you're not going to see guys go, throw 100, 110 pitches this week.
GenesPage.com, 247 Sports, the Boneyard Podcast. Steve Robertson on the Modelo guest line. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it. The show is brought to you by C Spire and the C Spire Outstanding Player Awards. Named today, all of them. You can go to msfame.com to watch the presentation. That's msfame.com. C Spire Outstanding Player Awards, noon today.